Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Welcome back to the Infowars Nightly News. I'm your host, Rob Dew. Now, coming up in the next segment, we're going to play a portion of a video that I made called "The EPA Wants to Kill Your Granny," showing other ways that the EPA is destroying the environment and trying to kill people as well. But first, let's get to this article here. Residents on edge as toxic Colorado spill larger than first reported. No doubt. Now they're saying it's 3 million gallons of water when at first it was 1 million. CBS Denver reports that Governor Hickenlooper is preparing a state of emergency for areas of southwestern Colorado along the Animas River. Both the towns of Durango and La Plata County have already issued their own emergency orders. The agency has so far been unable to determine whether humans or aquatic life face health risks. However, EPA toxicologist Deborah McKeon said the sludge moved so quickly after the spill, it would not have caused significant health effects to animals that consumed the water. Meanwhile, you have a Farmington resident, Rosemary Hart, who told CBS News, "I'm here on my property. I cannot shower. I cannot cook. I cannot do anything with water from my well." And with more on the EPA created 1 million gallon, now 3 million gallon toxic spill that has gone into the Animas River, we invite on the show chemist from Southern California at Chaffey College, Jonathan Munn. He is specifically trained in biological testing of compounds and ingredients. Jonathan, welcome to the show. My first question is, what is in this toxic sludge?
Well, it's hard to say exactly what is in it. The contents probably contain heavy metals like copper, lead, arsenic, cadmium, aluminum. There's a number of other what are called anions that could be in there, like sulfates and things like that. All of these chemicals we kind of call gram quantities. So what that means is that it doesn't take very much, only a couple grams, to actually cause death or severe damage from the chemicals.
And out of those, cadmium and chromium and I guess mercury, if it's in there, those are going to be the worst. Is that correct?
Yeah, those are going to be among the worst. I mean, lead is really bad for especially kids and developing brains. It's just absolutely brutal. What it does is it mimics other metals as it goes into your blood-brain barrier, actually calcium, and it prevents enzymatic processes from happening in multiple organs throughout your body. But cadmium is definitely among the worst, and the small amounts of it can cause irreversible liver and kidney damage. So the implications of this, it's just going to keep going. So although it may get flushed out with clean water over the next few months, what you will see is a residual amount that's left in the mud and debris along the banks of the river. And especially for kids and somebody who might be shuffling through that mud, these chemicals and compounds are going to be found in that. And at any later time in flooding or in areas that are developed, if these compounds are brought up into dust, into the air, that's even more of a risk factor, and especially in combination. So what we talk about in chemistry a lot is that there are additive effects and multiplying effects. And so that means that something that is not particularly dangerous by itself in conjunction with something else can be absolutely lethal. Especially for small kids or going up the food chain, this is really quite huge.
Well, and the EPA on the 9th put out a statement. They don't believe wildlife will suffer any significant health impacts from the large volume of wastewater that's spilled into the river. So the EPA is kind of saying no big deal, even though they caused this. And I just think it's atrocious that this is the organization that has been determined to safeguard our environment. Yet we see them time and time again creating environmental hazards that aren't necessarily environmental hazards, and then causing stuff like this, which is a real environmental hazard. We also caught the EPA testing diesel fumes on people, having them breathe diesel fumes to test the particulate, and they weren't even telling these people what they were doing. It was just, oh, by the way, surprise, you're breathing diesel fumes. So I don't think we can trust a word out of these guys. And so you're thinking it'll take like a month or so for this to get flushed through the initial waterway system.
Well, yeah, but you gotta think that there are areas of the river that bend and that go into marsh areas. So the fallout of this is just going to keep going for years. Uh, in mathematics, you can divide a number you can divide a number by 2 as many times as you want. You'll never get to 0. So the concentration of these chemicals will probably always be present in the area. So although it may be small and it may be negligible for us, with something like cadmium, I mean, we're talking about micrograms per liter could potentially cause damage to the kidneys.
God.
So, and as a chemist, I mean, we do have a number of toxic chemicals here that we're very safe about. And these are the kind of things that we call a rattlesnake out of a cage.
Now, Jonathan, in addition to the immediate effects, what about this stuff getting into people's wells or even people using it to irrigate their crops? This is near Farmington, New Mexico. So the potential of other, crops picking up these minerals into the food, what is that going to do?
Yeah, so actually I was looking into that, and what it looks like is there's actually a number of cases in Japan where cadmium specifically has gotten into rice crops and poisoned those that eat the rice. And what it does is it accumulates. So it may not affect the first generation, but it sits in the soil, and the more of it that goes in, the water evaporates out, and the concentration of the minerals and toxins actually accumulate.
Well, Jonathan, thank you for joining us. We appreciate any updates that you have on this in the future. Thanks for reaching out and contacting us today.
Absolutely.
It's the way, this is the way Infowars works. I was going through my email, and here we have a chemist over in Southern California is sending me all this information. I said, why don't you come on and talk about it?
Well, I saw it this morning. I just can't believe it, especially that they're really not making a big deal. And so, like I said in my initial email, I mean, this seems like the kind of thing they're broadcasting over here, wind reports and dust storms, but a spill in the river that you might be playing in or swimming in seems like something you'd want to,
Well,
broadcast.
And this stuff comes from China too. We have all kind of dust particulates that come over from China through the jet stream, and that's causing health problems here. So if you think this can't cause health problems anywhere else in the country, it's just going to be localized, you're wrong. I mean, all this stuff has to do. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, as you see, it's going right from Colorado into New Mexico. So
there you go. Yeah. Well, once again, thanks for joining us, and we hope to talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Now, the EPA would have you believe this was some accident and they didn't know it was going to happen. But I got sent another interesting email today from Morgan Edwards, who sent a letter to the editor from one Dave Taylor from Farmington. And it reads, EPA plan is really super fund blitzkrieg. Based on my 47 years experience as a professional geologist, it appears to me that the EPA is setting up your town and the area for a possible super fund blitzkrieg. Basically, what he's saying is they're going to put so much water into the mine and slowly fill it up, and it's going to go into other areas. And then eventually it's going to find its way out into the river. So their first plan of saying, hey, we're going to clean up this area using this plan A, once it fails, then they're going to go, oh, plan B. So, plan A didn't work. So I guess we'll have to build a treatment plant and cost taxpayers $100 million to $500 million. That's another way, the EPA can keep its significance going by creating these disasters that then they have to clean up. This was something that was being left alone, and it was contained in that area. But now they've released it onto the world. So then they could go, hey, we're going to be your saviors. We got to have a $100 million treatment plant. Anyway, that's from Dave Taylor of Farmington. Interesting to see how he kind of predicted this just 2 weeks ago. So coming up, we're going to play part of a report that I did about the EPA wanting to kill your granny and just show you the other ways the EPA is trying to destroy your life. That's coming up next on the Infowars Nightly News.
In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries in the area of health. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. DNA Force is one of the most expensive formulas to produce. Some of the ingredients in DNA Force are $12,000 a kilogram. We are using the coveted, patented, only American source of PQQ, CoQ10, and more. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? Well, we're bringing you a total win-win. The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. We have produced a limited run of DNA Force, and it will take up to 12 weeks to produce more once we sell out. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force,